Legally in Love, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 5b. From Emma's perspective. Jan, will you let me know when the preliminary financial reports for all the holdings come in, please? Emma asked as she reviewed Megan and Arnold's prenuptial agreement documents again. She had changed out of her power suit and back into her research clothes. They were both on the floor working their way through the stack of folders Jan had brought in earlier. "Will do, Emma. Is there anything else you needed?" she asked, setting out the folders in order of importance. "Not at the moment. Let me work my way through this, and I'll have a list of requests by Monday." "Sounds good." Emma's phone rang. Jan answered it. "Emma Delaney's office. How may I assist you?" A few moments and later, she confirmed, "Of course, Mr. Mitchell. I'll transfer you to her immediately." Then clicked the button to put him on hold. Emma was grateful she was looking down at her document when she heard his name. She felt her face go red and her eyes widened ridiculously big. Taking a deep breath, she pulled herself together before looking up at Jan with a relaxed and casual smile and nodded her head. "Let the games begin," she said, grateful it sounded confident and not shaky as hell. Jan chuckled. "I'll give you some privacy," she said as she turned to leave. "Oh, would you close the door, please?" Emma asked as she left. Jan nodded her head and pulled the door closed behind her. Emma waited until the door was completely shut, and after Jan looked through the window at the side of the door to give a quick "Good luck," Emma mouthed "Thank you" back to her before Jan disappeared. Hand slightly shaking, she reached for the phone. "This is Emma. Thank you for getting back to me so quickly, John." Just saying his name made her heart race. She was screwed. "As promised, you should have the document by the end of next week. If your clients decide to dispute it, Megan wants to proceed as quickly as possible, so I'll need a petition for a court date next week." Emma smiled. Classic John, high pressure and fast paced. That thought brought back memories of the other night. Him pressing himself against her, the hard pull at her chest, which left a mark she'd found that morning. She noticed the throb there that she'd successfully ignored until this call. A throb that kept sending signals down to her. Oh, she was screwed. "What's our timeline if they agree to mediation?" "You think they might settle?" He sounded surprised. This caused a ridiculous smile of pride. Had any other lawyer surprised the man ever? "Just want to understand all of my client's options." She knew her client's best option was a mediation and not full-blown trial if they wanted anything resembling their current lives on the other side of this. Whether they took her recommendation, jury in her head was still out. There was silence that lasted longer than was comfortable. Was he still on the line? Emma looked at her phone before putting it back to her ear. From John's perspective. John smiled. Classic Emma, throwing monkey wrenches in all his carefully laid plans. Once he knew he was coming against Delaney and Ross, mediation hadn't even come up as a possibility. Not to mention the last time he faced her in mediation, his client lowered her demands by more than half, the company was able to remain solvent, and the new oversight prevented any further embezzlement or sexual harassment issues, leading to the company being more profitable than before the suit. On top of that, his client and the company's CEO were now engaged after having twins and by all accounts blissfully happy. He was screwed. "Hello, John, are you still there?" John shook his head to clear the memories. "Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that. How does your schedule look next week?" His mind coming up with reasons to have her added to it every day. "I was set to research all next week, so I'm very flexible. I could probably fit you in any time you're available." His mouth went dry. What was wrong with him? It was a perfectly innocent professional statement, but because she referred to herself as being very flexible and she could fit him in whenever he was available, he was throbbing everywhere. Yeah, let me look." He stuttered and grabbed his tablet, fumbled for his schedule. Damn, it was fuller than he thought. "I can do Tuesday, 2 p.m. I have 2 hours available." From Emma's perspective, Emma had turned her chair to face the wall, already feeling herself go beet red. Did that sound as suggestive to him as it did in her head? What was wrong with her? Emma reached awkwardly for her tablet on her desk while trying to keep her chair facing the back wall. "Tuesday at 2? 2 hours ought to cover it." 2 hours alone in the room with him? She wasn't going to survive. She still added it to her schedule. "Great, see you then." "Looking forward to it." The connection dropped. One short phone conversation with him had her body throbbing, heart racing, and face blushing like a bookworm on a prom date. What in the world would she do on a one-on-one activity with him that was still set for Saturday? She could not disgrace herself in front of her brother, but she wasn't sure she had the willpower, or any willpower, to prevent it when she was around John. What in the world was she going to do? A plan started to form in her brain. The trick would be to turn this double date into a group activity. Hopefully that would work and not just cause her to humiliate herself in front of even more people. The more she thought it over, it seemed like the perfect solution to her current overactive hormones. She reached for her phone again. Jan, would you get Christian on the phone for me, please? On it, was her simple response. Oh, you're the best, Emma praised honestly. Oh, and what are you doing Saturday? Later that night. Thankfully, Christian had agreed to her plan. Andi, Kim, and Jan were meeting at Emma's condo to decide outfits. Between her and Andi, they had more than enough costumes to outfit a small army. They'd been going to them since they were young. Oh, Chaselyn, come here, you gorgeous little angel! Emma gushed the moment Andi arrived with their nanny Julie, who'd also agreed to come on her event, not date. The little girl squealed and let Emma hold her long enough to kiss her forehead before wiggling out of her arms. She set off crawling carefully around the room, investigating everything as she went. Archaeologist. Emma guessed what the little one would do when she grew up. Cultural anthropologist, Julie surmised. Treasure hunter, Andi declared. The other two agreed. Andi laid the outfit she brought on Emma's couch. Emma opened the door to her front coat closet she'd repurposed into a costume closet. Other than the occasional family member, she hadn't had a single guest in her place until that night. She'd ordered sandwiches from her favorite place, had drinks on hand, and an old movie on standby in case they got really wild and wanted to make a late night of it. Nothing like watching Cary Grant romance tours stay for 2 hours. Soon, the few people she knew would find out just how boring and nerdy she was. Now, before we get started, let me introduce everyone. First, this is Jan, my assistant and best paralegal research specialist and expert in finding the impossible in the whole world. The other girls wooted and applauded. Jan turned slightly red and bowed her head in thanks. She most graciously agreed to join us on this outing, though I feel confident this is way outside her comfort zone. Jan's eyes grew really big and she nodded her head. The other more experienced Renaissance Fair attenders clapped, encouraging her she would love it. Emma hoped that would be true. She really needed Jan to come back to work on Monday. Next, this is Andi, the best sister-in-law in the world. Again, more applause. She kept it simple with Andi since she knew her best friend would only want to speak with her. This is Kim, best nanny who finished her master's in child and developmental psychology and has just been accepted to a doctor program in the fall. Thunderous applause. Kim's face turned red, and she gave Emma a mock irritated look at releasing the information. Oh, but don't tell anyone, she hasn't told her family yet. Everyone laughed. And last but certainly not least, this is Julie, also the best nanny, whose first children's book is coming out in the fall, and if Chaselyn and Luke's reaction are any indication, will be a bestseller by winter. Final loud applause, and she hoped she introduced enough information on everyone present that conversations would come easy. Okay, there's food and drink in the kitchen. You can go through all the costumes in the closet and anything Andi brought. Hopefully you find something you like. If not, we'll have to go into the ones in my bedroom closet. If you need anything, let me know. Anyone who's interested, there'll be a viewing later of That Touch of Mink. Otherwise, I've got Chaselyn, so everyone, let the games begin. She actually heard squeals from more than one person present. That was a good sign. Another good sign was that they all showed up tonight. Now she just needed to make sure they showed up tomorrow. Could she just lock her door and keep them there until it was time to leave? Andi took over Chaselyn's care since, like Emma, her outfit was already decided. Emma ducked into the kitchen to make sure the food was still well stocked, only to find out it was almost gone. She went to the refrigerator and took out the round 2 sandwiches, restocked the chips, and grabbed more drinks. A fashion show straight out of 1545 paraded through her front room. Everything from nobility, wench, pirate, fantasy, pretty sure some other genres were pulled from her closet, but it was amazing how much fun she was having. Emma sat by Andi, who was nursing Chaselyn, and both were enjoying the show. It reminded her how much fun it was when they would get ready for a fair, any fair. They looked at each other and smiled. How do you think the boys are doing? Emma whispered to Andi. Christian, John, Trevo, Luke, and John's brothers were all meeting at John's at the same time for their preparations. They tried on an outfit each and are watching some game on TV as we speak. Emma laughed. As the night went on, she noticed Jan and Kim spent a lot of time together. Outfits were picked, sandwiches disappeared, and no one was making excuses to leave. Was everyone having fun? The popcorn was almost done. Final warning, movie starting in 10 minutes. If you don't want to watch, then I thank you for coming tonight and we'll see you tomorrow. She expected a mass exodus and sudden emptying of her home, but instead they all settled in random chairs in front of her TV. She grabbed the bowls of popcorn and passed them around before settling next to Andy. She was lucky enough to have Chaselyn snuggle into her shoulder and fall asleep as she hit play.